Hi everybody, and welcome to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. Today's video is a one-story video that started out in the subreddit relationships and ended up in the subreddit bad roommates. It's a very intense story that has a big shift in the middle, and it has an update and a final update. So like always, if you'd like to navigate through the different parts of the video, you can always use the timestamps right below it. Now, let's get started with the story. This post is from the subreddit Relationships, and it's by user Where's My Room? I've, 25 female, returned from a month-long trip and my roommate, female 22, has moved all her things into my room and has been living there, with no intention of switching back. So I moved into this flat about 8 months ago. I met Lana online on a roommate website and we clicked well. She's a bit younger but seemed mature. We quickly agreed to be roommates. Both of us were under time constraints to find a place to live. But we have got on really well so far, up until this. Our flat is a 2-bedroom, and to be frank, my room is clearly the better one. It's bigger and has built-in wardrobes. When looking for the flat, I found the place first on my own and put down a deposit to take it off the market while I found another roommate. The flat was perfect. Cheap rent, and my aunt manages the property, so I was keen to snap it up before anyone else did. The area it's in is popular, so I wasn't worried about not finding someone to room with. Because of the above and that I was there first, I took the bigger room, naturally. When showing potential roommates, including Lana, around, I was sure to show the smaller room and say, this would be your room. We moved in 8 months ago, and it's been happy family. Never heard Lana complain about her room. Because I have about 6 times the wardrobe space that she does, I told her she's welcome to store her off-season clothes in there, or whatever she wants to store, as long as she's not popping in every morning to get dressed, and she was happy with this. Just over a month ago, I went traveling. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of having people in my room, but I told Lana if she had someone stay, her sister, friends from home, they could sleep in my bed. She said thanks, and as she's been such a great roommate and rarely has guests except for her boyfriend, I didn't worry at all. I came back yesterday. I was exhausted from the flight and traveling, and just wanted to shower and sleep. As I walked in, Lana was in the living room with her boyfriend. We said hello, had a very quick catch-up, blah blah. Then I dragged my suitcase to my room, opened the door and found it full of stuff that was not mine. I kind of yelled, "What the F?" and briefly thought I was so jet-lagged I was confused, but opened the door to Lana's room and saw all my stuff. I walked into the living room and asked Lana what was going on, and she said, "Oh, sorry, I forgot to mention we put my stuff in your room because it's bigger and you weren't here and you said I could use it." I was honestly so tired I could have passed out then, so I probably wasn't in the best state, and I told her to move it all back immediately. She said they were in the middle of making dinner and I looked tired, so I should have sleep. Her boyfriend then said, "And anyway, you paid the same rent, so isn't it fair that you both get the big room at some point?" I was getting really frustrated and could feel tears welling up, hysterical from lack of sleep. So I just said, "We'll deal with this tomorrow, and it's getting moved back." And then I went to sleep in not my room. I've woken up now and I'm so pissed. Lana's at work so I can't call her, but what should I do when she's home? I feel like this is going to turn into an argument. I don't think it'll be as simple as, "Okay, let's swap now, you're home." OP, I had the same reaction while reading your post. What the F? No, you didn't tell Lana that she could take over your room. And also, what the hell's the boyfriend chiming in with this opinion? Nobody asked him. That's not your house, dude. You don't get to have a say. You can talk to Lana if you want, but that's about it. Anyway, back to Lana. We have a saying in my country, maybe you guys have the same saying or a variation, which is something like, you offered somebody a hand and they took your elbow, which basically means somebody's taking advantage of you, or taking advantage of you being a good person. And in this case, that's your roommate, OP. She knew what the deal was when she moved in, and as soon as you took a trip and told her, hey, if you need to use a room, use it, well, she thought of that as, hey, I'm going to use it and I'm moving in. If I was in your situation, OP, I'd make the switch now. That's exactly what she did to you. And I'm sorry, but that is not her room. I don't see anything wrong with you making the switch. It sucks that you have to do it, but hey, let's get it done. And what about you guys? What do you guys think? What would you do if you were in OP's shoes? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they have to say. Sheep Huddle says, she moved your things out when you weren't there. You're off work now, just swap things back straight away. Start with stripping the beds and changing the linen over. I wouldn't leave it till tomorrow, it normalizes the situation. If she comes home whilst you're in the middle of it, just keep going or ask her to help you. Her boyfriend should keep out of it. I assume he's lived there full time over the last month and he's seeing it as their flat now. And OP responds, quote, I assume he's lived there full time over the last month and he's seeing it as their flat now, end quote. Yep, this is my worry. I still paid rent for this month I was away, so I have every right to return to the same flat as I left. Maximum Farting says, move your stuff back. This isn't even a discussion. You found the place. You made it clear the smaller was her room. Put a lock on the door and say this isn't a discussion. It sucks she screwed herself over, but that's her problem, not yours. Incredible Bulk 2 says, just move it back yourself while she's out. Her boyfriend gets exactly no say. She agreed to live in the smaller room for the same rent. You are rightfully pissed. OP's edit. I've taken the advice of most people on this thread and moved my stuff back. It's taken hours and I'm knackered, but I feel if I left it another night, it would be a real problem. I sent her a text when I was almost done, in case she kicked up a crap storm and came home, to say, hi Lana, hope you're having a nice day at work. Just to let you know, I'm moving my stuff back into my room. Didn't want you coming home and walking into the wrong one, smiley face. Yes, I'm petty. I'll be talking to her when she gets in because this is out of character for her, to the point of it being bizarre. She's never been anything but a model roommate, so I'm gonna give her a chance before we're donezo. If she wants to be reasonable and have a chat about rent portions, I'm happy to do that. She's never had a problem with the rent before, and honestly, I've never had uneven rent amounts in any place I've ever lived, whether I had a bigger room or a smaller room. But a lot of people here are saying it's the norm, so I'm open to talking about it if she's not ridiculous. Okay, well, the community absolutely agrees that OP should just make the switch without asking anybody any questions and just get it done. Apparently also a lot of people told OP about rent portions and OP agrees with that, which I agree too. I didn't say it before, but I do believe that if you have more square meters, you pay more rent. If you have less square meters, you pay less rent. Anyways, let's move on with the first update to see what happened after this. So, as you know, I texted Lana to tell her I moved my stuff back. She didn't reply to me. Fine, whatever, but she didn't kick off, so I figured we were okay. I told my aunt what had happened, who was as baffled as all of you, and I told her it was probably all sorted, just keeping her in the loop. I also told my boyfriend, who works about 5 minutes down the road. He offered to come round, in case Lana's boyfriend came round. But I told him not to, because then we're ganging up on Lana. He insisted on going for a coffee with his mate a couple of roads away in case we needed backup, which is a bit ridiculous but very cute of him. So I did get myself a glass of wine while waiting for Lana. Not because I was nervous, I just like wine. And she came home. I was sat in the living room and gave her a very cold hi when she walked in. She sort of froze, bag in hand, and her eyes darted between me and not her, our bedroom door. She blurted, "Did you do it?" And I said, "What? Move the rooms back?" "Yeah, of course." And her eyes went all wide and she dropped her bag and ran into the bathroom. I could hear her talking on the phone, so I was like, "Yippee! I guess Tom's coming around. Fun!" I heard the door unlock and I was about to go full Hulk on how psycho she is when she came out of the door and stood between our bedrooms. The doors are adjacent and she just stared between them both, breathing heavily. It was really odd. Then I noticed she was crying and getting a bit panicky, so I asked what was going on. She burst into tears and said, "Oh my God, he's going to kill me," and just sobbed. So yeah, it was the boyfriend's idea completely, as a lot of us suspected. She's honestly always been a perfect roommate. If she was generally an a-hole, I would have known how to act, if you know what I mean. Anyway, Lana has a bit of a breakdown, and it turns out the piece of crap Tom has always been a bit of a piece of crap. Very jealous, which I always saw hints of, but Lana never mentioned, so I didn't, and has amped up his piece of crappiness while I've been away. When I left, he just finished school and basically moved in unannounced, and when she'd mentioned he hasn't been home in days, he'd give her the, "What, you don't love me? I treat you so well, you're so selfish, blah blah blah" crap, and refused to move. She showed me the texts he sends her. Absolutely horrific stuff. Things like, "Ring me in the next 5 minutes or we're over. Send me a picture of you at your desk with something showing today's date so I know you're at work." Just abusive stuff. On to the room. As we guessed, he moved it. He did it while she was at work, which is actually a bit gross thinking of him going through my stuff, and I'm considering somehow implying I have crabs or something he could catch just to make him squirm a bit, but I'll work on it. Lana came home and said, "What are you doing?" He made it out to be just temporary and that I wouldn't mind. Such a gentleman speaking on my behalf. And he would move it back, and he was doing it for her, and she was so selfish, etc. When it got a few days before I came back, Lana suggested moving it back, and he completely denied it. He said that and told her it was her idea to move it, and he only did what she told him, but it's staying now or she'd be sorry. So basically, Tom is a prick, and Lana sobbed and apologized and cried, and I fed her wine. She didn't want to see Tom, who obviously assumed he lived there now. So I text him from her phone saying our landlady, my aunt, was coming round for an inspection and staying for dinner after with my family, and he couldn't come over tonight. He sent a lot of begging, whiny texts and then went on the offensive and called Lana a liar. So I rang my aunt, explained everything, and had her write us a fake landlord email mentioning the visit and how she was looking forward to fajitas, because she's an absolute babe and I make good packet fajitas, which we forwarded on to Tom. He left her alone for the rest of the night, apart from a few texts. I'm not entirely sure what we do about Tom. Lana sounds like she wants to break up, judging from her crying and screaming, "I hate him, I hate him, I hate him," into her wine. I think she's scared too though. I checked with her and he doesn't have a key, so that's a relief. I've told my aunt everything and she said she is happy to ban him from the flat. But Lana would need to break up with him first and get all that sorted. Thanks everyone for the advice. I know it wasn't the most popcorny update, but hopefully Lana will be okay and we're going to be doing some girly crap this week and avoiding Tom. And yeah, God knows what'll happen. So it was the boyfriend who made all this happen, and man, that dude is weird. What is he, some sort of process server asking Lana to send him a picture with something with today's date on it? Telling her that if the room goes back to how it was, she would be sorry? And all of those texts, Lana is definitely in an abusive relationship and hopefully OP can help her get out of it. And that's exactly what we're going to cover with the final update, so let's finish up with that. Hi everyone! It's been a busy month since my last post. Sorry it took so long, but things have calmed down now. So, shortly after my last post, Lana broke up with Tom. She was quite scared to do it because he's a psycho, and it took 2 weeks between the last post and the actual breakup. During that time, she didn't let him come round or see her. Luckily, she remembered that Tom had never had chickenpox as a kid. So we pretended my nephew had caught chickenpox and had to stay with us because my brother's wife had never had it and couldn't risk getting shingles. It worked luckily, and he stayed away. She told her family and close friends about what he'd been like in case he contacted them to get in touch with her and lied about what happened. And then texted him saying she wanted to break up. Well, he blew the F up. Called her every name under the sun. Switched back to apologizing and saying she was the love of his life. then said she'd never find someone like him, then he would die without her, then he wanted to kill her, then they were soulmates. It was insane. He started messaging me too, telling me I was an evil bitch who had ruined his perfect wife. Well, okay then. And as predicted, her family and friends got messages too. We both turned our phones off to ignore it and just watched TV. Later, I briefly switched mine on, where I had a lot of messages from my friends telling me to block some guy on my social media. It was Tom, calling me every imaginative combination of the C word he could think of all over my public Instagram page. There were even a few racial slurs, which was odd because we're both white, but okay. Lana had already blocked him on everything, but silly me forgot to make my Insta private. The next day, he rang Lana's office. She was so embarrassed, it was awful. To tell her he was driving down to our flat. She rang me and I rang my aunt, who you remember manages the property, who told us it was time to call the police. We filed a report about Tom and they said to update us on the situation. In the UK, you need to go to court to actually get a restraining order, so we haven't as such, but the evidence is all there and documented if we need to go that far. The police rang Tom at our request, told him they'd seen the messages and to turn his car around because if he turned up at our door, he'd be arrested. Police officers here are amazing, can I just say. Tom managed to crap himself hard enough to not show up after that, so we were fine for a week. Then the post came. Tom started sending letters, threats and soppy I love you crap, flowers, then a pizza that we had to pay for. We were actually hungry so we ate it. He signed us up to a magazine subscription. It was bizarre. We went to the police again. They filed everything, but Lana didn't want to go to court. I don't blame her. She was incredibly stressed by the whole thing. 2 weeks ago, I took my aunt and mother out to dinner. I told them both about the situation and my goddess of an aunt had an idea. She manages about 30 properties, not just the one we live at, and had a few that were unoccupied now. She told me she would show us around all the 2 bedrooms she had and we could live in any of them for the same rent we pay now and just transfer over our deposits and fees, as long as there were no damages to deduct and we helped do a deep clean to get it ready for the next tenant. We found one within a 5-minute drive that's just as lovely and to anyone concerned about the previous rent dispute, has equal-sized bedrooms. So we moved, which is why the last 2 weeks have been manic, but we're settled in now. Tom has now been informed that we've moved because the stuff he sent since has been returned. Lana and I are completely no contact with him, and anyone who visits us is sure not to pass on our address to Tom. Also, I apologized to Lana about the issue with paying the same amounts of rent. She said she had never had a problem with it and said that's how she had always done it through uni and with other roommates. She refused to take any money from me, but I've decided I will be funding the weekly flat wine sessions for the future. It's been a long month, and even though my traveling tan has faded, things are great now. Thanks for all your advice before, guys, even the ones I didn't agree with, and let's all hope that I have a calmer living situation from now on. Woof, that Tom sounds like one big ass basket case, yikes. It's a good thing Lana was able to break up with that guy and go no contact. Hopefully he won't be able to track either of you down. Great job, OP, in helping your roommate, and now that you've guys got a flat with equal rooms, there's gonna be no issues regarding rent amounts or anything like that. So all that there's left to do is wish OP and Lana all the best in the upcoming future. Take care, guys. And it's that time that we've reached the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed today's stories. I certainly did reading them to you. So if you did, then go ahead and give the video a like, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and become a member of our Discord community that just keeps growing and it is fantastic. And like I said in the beginning of the video, all of the relevant links are in the video description below, so be sure to check them out. And finally, I'd like to thank you all for taking the time to watch this video. It really does mean a lot to me that you guys enjoy this content, so thank you once again. And having said all that, I will see you guys in the next video.